Good morning. I am back with another episode. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and the message reads like this. Hello, how are you? Can you please forward my story to Brother Nashi so that he can also post my story on his platform? My story reads like this. My story is about my husband. My husband wanted to sacrifice me. The time was around 10 p.m. when I woke up. I asked myself, where was I? How did I get here? Confusion filled my head. I closed my eyes, then I was gone. The next time that I opened my eyes, I was woken up by something that was putting pressure on my legs, and that thing was not letting go of me. That is when I heard buzzing sounds and lights. Then I saw a screen. It looked like I was in a hospital because when I looked at that screen, I saw that this screen was busy monitoring my heartbeat. Then a nurse came and she said, "Oh, God loves you so much. You made it through the operation. The operation was successful. You are quite blessed." How did I get here? I had never been this confused in my life. How it all started. I married a man that was very well up. We met, and from the day that we met, he told me that he wanted to marry me. Within 3 months, he told me that he was ready to pay lobola for me. Then he went and he visited my parents with his relatives, and a date was set for the traditional wedding ceremony to be done. My husband and his relatives came to our house, and him and his relatives, they paid everything that was needed. My parents charged a lot of cows for my bride price. My husband and my family did a lot of negotiations, but already my family had accepted my husband into the family. This was just a formal thing so that according to our tradition, we can be formally married. My parents were extremely happy because they had lost hope in me. They thought that I'll never get married. Actually, there was this other auntie of mine who kept on asking me if I was into women. She said it is okay because I can see that the way that you dress, even from the time when you were a little girl, you loved dressing like a boy. So you can tell me your secrets. I'll never tell anyone. Whenever my auntie would ask me if I was a tomboy or not, I was so embarrassed because I was into boys. I was never into women. Maybe it was the way that I loved to dress that would confuse people. So my parents had lost all hope in me that I'll ever get married, especially my mother. That is why sometimes I would even avoid to visit my parents, because whenever I'll be there, especially my mother will keep on asking me when I'll get married and when I'll have a child of my own. My mother will say, I cannot die before I see my own grandchildren. After the wedding, I moved into his newly built house, a huge house in the lofty suburbs of Kyalami. It was a very huge house. He told me that he had built this house especially for me so that we can raise our family in this beautiful house. That house, it was quite beautiful indeed. But where could he be getting all this money? I asked myself a lot of questions, but there was no answers. What surprised me was that I was given the responsibility to finish this house, but there was one picture frame on the wall that I was not allowed to remove. This bothered me. It was his mom, so every time when I would want to remove that picture frame that was on the wall, I would feel guilty. Even to clean it, I would feel guilty because his mom had passed away, and he told me that she occupied a very special place in his heart. So I just thought, let it be. But I wanted my own pictures on that wall. But I told myself that there are some battles that you cannot win. Some of the battles in marriage, you don't have to try to win them. I had never had problems with it, but the picture was very huge in a glass picture frame. This made me more uncomfortable, especially whenever my friends would come and visit me at my house. They'll keep on asking me why we made such a huge effort to put such a big picture that was very huge in a glass picture frame and on the wall, yet my own pictures were quite small. It was as if my husband's mother was the owner of this house. This thing bothered me a lot. But I kept on telling myself that when you are in marriage, you don't have to win each and every battle. In the end, as a woman, I told myself that I was going to win this battle. I finished the house and it was a beautiful house. I was living the dream because I come from Soweto and this life was never ever in my wildest dream. I never thought I was going to live such a lavish lifestyle. My husband told me that I can purchase anything that I want. I had everything that I needed, and all that I could do was spend the day shopping designer perfumes, going for holidays, just a soft life. My husband told me that now he was going to be working from home, and that was way before lockdown, so it was not popular working from home, especially if you are a man. When my husband came up with that concept that from now on he was going to be a work from home dad, I had never had that concept before. It sounded so weird because growing up I thought that a man has to wake up in the morning, then you go to work, then in the evening you come back home. But this whole thing that you will be working from home, it didn't even make sense to me. But when the coronavirus came, that is when it started to make sense that actually someone can work from home. So what my husband would do, he would go on meetings with his friends and family. But what bothers me was that these meetings were held in Centon and in the middle of the night. Something was off, but I didn't care at all. I was happy that this is what was important and my husband was providing for me. One day I noticed that the lady on the wall, she seemed as if she was crying. The first time that I had that dream, I thought that maybe it was because I was just full of hatred, but those dreams, they kept on coming back. And whenever sometimes I would sleep during the day, maybe when I'll be watching TV, when I'll be home alone, sometimes I'll just fall asleep. Then in my dreams, I'll notice that the lady on the wall, my husband's dead mother, she will be crying. Yes, she would actually be shedding tears. But in my dreams, I'll be the one to wipe off her tears. So this thing, it started confusing me because sometimes when I would wake up, I'll be standing right next to that picture on the wall and I'll be shedding tears. When all of these mysterious things were happening to me in the beginning, I was just ignoring them, thinking that maybe I was hallucinating or something. Then the next time that I had a dream, in my dream, that lady, my husband's dead mother, she came to me. Then she told me that this place is not safe. Run away. You are staying with a murderer. She didn't even address her own son as if she was her son. She just said, you are staying with a murderer. You have to run away. The reason why this murderer is rich like this, it is because he murdered me. This man, he was never employed, and all the money that he had was from sacrificing his own mother. This I found out later because my husband's dead mother, she kept on visiting me in my dreams. She went on to tell me how she was sacrificed, and my heart was heavy. The strange part about it is that sometimes when I'll be driving, I'll just fall asleep. I don't know how these things I don't know how it was possible, but there were days when I'll be driving, then I'll just have a vision. My husband's dead mother, she'll be sitting right there next to me. Then she'll start showing me how my husband was a ritualist. I called a friend and I told her. She came to the house. We spoke and she told me to be careful if this was true, there is a need for an exit plan. That is what she said. Later that day, as my friend was walking in the hallway, I heard a scream. What was wrong? My friend came running into my bedroom. She was crying and she was terrified. I said, "What did you see? Why are you so scared?" She just said, "I want to get out of the house." After my husband tried to murder me, that is when my friend told me what she saw. She said, "As I was walking through the hallway, I saw your mother-in-law. She was crying. She was just standing in the middle of the hallway. Then she looked at me. Her face was filled with blood and she tried to run after me. When I screamed, that is when I saw that she had disappeared. But the way that she had disappeared, she just went into her picture." I told my friend that indeed what she had seen, it was quite true and she was not hallucinating. I told her all of the visions that would occasionally happen to me even when I'll be driving. I still don't understand how I never had an accident, because sometimes I'll just get out of the house, then I'll just black out. But the next thing that will happen is that when I will regain my consciousness, I'll be parked safely by the side of the road. And when I will check the time, sometimes 3 or 4 hours would have gone by when I'll be having all of these visions. I was afraid and we decided to start a boutique with my friend. This was like an exit plan before she had told me everything that she had seen in the hallway. My husband had a lot of money and sometimes in the house everywhere will be US dollars. My friend gave me a plan. This was like taking advantage of my husband. She told me in detail that I had to tell my husband that I wanted to go to Turkey for holidays. As usual, he agreed, but this time around, I asked him if I could go with my best friends. I went there with my best friends and we bought a lot of clothes and we came back. I became so busy and my husband, he was never at home to notice anything. So my shop started to function somewhere in 4 ways. I never told him. 2 years later, I never got pregnant, maybe because the higher authority knew that this was a wrong turn. I then had a dream of that lady again. She explained that this murderer that she never referred as her own son sacrificed her. She told me that I had to be careful, but she was worried because greed had entered into my heart. She blamed my friend and she said that is the reason why you have to stay away from your friend, because greed has entered into her heart. And if you follow the advice of your friend, your husband is going to sacrifice you, because it has to be a woman who is very close to him. I was used to my granny and I woke up and I ignored that lady. Next, I went to bath, and as I sat down in the tub, the water turned red. I knew that something was wrong. Immediately, I stood up and I left without looking back. That same morning, as I was standing on the balcony, he came, my husband, and he spoke to me. He left, and the next time he came, my husband, he pushed me, and his intention was to kill me. My husband pushed me from the balcony. I screamed and I fell from the first floor and I hit a rock. Luckily, the helper heard me and she ran as fast as she could. But when she came to the place where I had fallen from the balcony, she found me lying unconscious, and that time my husband had ran into the bedroom. My helper screamed and our neighbor came rushing. In all of this confusion, my husband also came out. He was holding a knife. My helper told me that when my husband rushed to the bedroom, he had gone to take an okapi, a knife, and he was very disappointed to see that people were already gathered there. That is how I found myself in hospital, and I was in a coma because I hit the ground with my head. The doctors didn't expect me to make it. Hence, the nurse, when I woke up, she said, "Indeed, there is a God in heaven." My friend was managing the boutique whilst I was in a coma. and my husband gave the police report that I had jumped because I was a suicidal woman. I was a depressed woman. I was someone who was never satisfied. I knew his plan, like his mother had told me. I left the marriage, and I am grateful to the Almighty that I didn't die. Ladies, pray for your marriages before you make a decision to marry. The devil is out there. Yes, I know this for a fact. There are things that I want to share with you, but I can't, because when I got divorced from my husband, he made me to sign this other thing that is called a non-disclosure agreement, and he gave me a lot of money. My brother, let me rest my case. Phew. Dear listeners, right there was a message that I received from our dear sister. Wow, she's saying that her own husband gave her a lot of money when they got divorced, and her husband made her to sign a contract. I wonder what that contract was about. Please let us speak with her in the comment section. I'll be back with another episode.